Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. This is my co-host Satomi.
This is my co-host Dub.
And how are we doing today, Satomi?
I am super excited to talk about this subject, even though you are really driving the bus today because this is your like pole position, like we were talking the other day. But the memory lane down which I have traversed since we started discussing this subject is extremely exciting.
You are going all over the board on the accents
I am,
today.
Yes.
You
I
hit
have
like
no
three
idea
accents.
why.
That's awesome.
I don't know why.
And so we have a bigger cast. That's how that works.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yes.
So it's not just the two of us, it's also the voices in my head.
Oh, that's a scary place to be. So today we are talking about origins. Every geek loves origin stuff. And this is kind of some of me and Satomi's origins on when we found our different passions and what got us excited about it
Our
and what's
geekdoms.
been difficult about it. Because there is some weird difficulty that we've kind of
For sure.
touched on a little bit. Because,
For
so
sure.
now let me ask you this question first before we talk
Okay.
about any particular geekdom. So you
Okay.
you are a female, that's right,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay, I was pretty sure.
Last time I checked,
I know
yeah,
you're supposed
yep.
to ask now or something, but so what I want to know is, I know when you and I started to play around in the geek world, comic books or whatever, I know it wasn't quite as okay for girls. I mean, it wasn't okay for guys, but it really wasn't okay for girls.
It super was not. It super was not. I actually, until maybe like the last 5 to 10 years at the most, at the very, very most, I generally hid my geekdom. Not because I was ashamed of it, but because people just didn't know how to take it. So let's go to like, first impressions when people meet me,
Mm-hmm.
right? People tend to think I'm super serious. I'm very focused.
I can't fathom that.
I know, it's insane. It's because once you get to know me, you find out that I'm essentially a 12-year-old
A
boy
goyle?
trapped in
A goyle.
a goyle. I'm a goyle. Listen, we suddenly we're going here. That's okay too. But I'm essentially a 12-year-old boy in so many ways, and growing up, Japanese German American, going to a Catholic school, we had to be, pink and polite and all those things. And if you were into
Mm-hmm.
any kind of geekdom, it was really frowned upon. You were seen. We were the outcasts. Let's
Oh
be
yeah,
honest. Growing
absolutely.
up, if you had geekiness, you were definitely part of the other. And even even recently, when I tell people that I'm a gamer, I mean, Dub,
Yes,
you were shocked.
I was.
You
I did
only
not
found out how many days ago?
about less than 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
that you like video games, and we've been talking for a couple of years now.
Yes. Yeah. And so definitely as a female for a long, long time, I had to hide my geekdom because it was not considered cool, it was not considered attractive, and it was generally just misunderstood.
That's fair.
It was like it didn't match. Oh, going
Yeah.
back to, people meet me, they think I'm super serious. So they're like, that doesn't match who you are. And it's like, part of me wants to go, Ekyo me. Don't tell me, don't tell me who I am. I am who I am. I am what I am. I am my own special creation. Thank you, La Cage aux Folles. And so, the people that I tend to connect with tend
Uh-huh.
to be geeks because that is who I am at heart.
But
What about you, Dub? Did you run into?
yes and no. I was an awkward kid in the first place. I was very, very skinny, very, very small. I was a drama kid.
You were
Uh,
small?
I was small. I graduated high school at 115 pounds, 5'5". So yeah, I got all my growing came after high school.
Wow. Wow. I can't even picture it.
Oh, I
I
was
can't even
tiny.
picture it. Okay, for our listeners who haven't actually seen Dub, just go online, take a look at Dub because you're built like a Viking. Anyhow, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But
You're
so
welcome.
I really had to hide geek stuff because
Mhm.
I already had everything going against me. That's a
Oh
fact.
no.
However, like the superhero stuff that I'm really into now, I mean, I love the toys and all that, but I was never super into the comics because you look at the 90s era and I had an issue with comic books were going for like $300 and $400 for, and I
Good
saw how
grief.
stupid it was. And I mean, I'm like, no, I'll read the Archie Double Digest. I'm good with that, and that's, I know, frowned on in the geek world now because
Listen,
once
listen,
again, we
we
have
all have our
gatekeepers.
gateway. We all have our gateway. Don't this and I mean really what our whole show is about is don't yuck my yum.
Exactly.
So
That's good. I like that.
yeah.
That's pretty coul. So, it was a transition that kind of was a natural thing though, because I was tiny and being the drama kid, um, yeah, that's how I kind of learned how to um, kind of have both worlds, be able to talk to people and be like normal ish, and you can kind of have these little obsessions.
So being the drama kid is actually what gave you permission
Yes,
to
because
be yourself.
I always, that's when I learned, I mean, I have a long story. I have a tattoo that talks about it, but I believe everybody's always wearing a mask, and I didn't know how to play the part that I wanted to play until that happened, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it's a real argument for theater and for
Oh,
okay,
yes.
okay, excuse me. There's a soapbox that I'm going to pull out. I'm going to step on just for a second.
Okay.
Arts
I
in
can't
school,
imagine.
it is vital. It helps with development. It helps with self-assuredness. It helps with interaction with other people. It helps you get to know yourself.
Hmm.
And so, keep arts funded in schools.
Yes.
I'm getting off of my box and setting it to the
But
side, and let's
and
get back to the geekdom.
not everybody is a football player. If you're going to
No.
put that much money into a football, give some money to the awkward kids, because the awkward kids are who's going to make money later. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, because
And entertain you.
the odds are you're not going to have really anybody from your high school that's going to make the pros that you're going to be able to hang your hat on. All these
Oh.
millions of dollars they put in. Just to be fair.
But you know
there's
what? But
exceptions.
everybody's got their dreams, so
Yeah,
we're not
and
going to
there's
yuck
nothing
their yum
wrong.
either.
There's nothing
Not
wrong
going
with
to
it,
yuck their
but
yum either. Yeah.
as far as money goes, they need to, and I know I'm going off now. I'm not saying you have to put as
Arts
much money
funding.
into the arts,
Yeah.
but if you're going to cut arts, you better cut football first.
We and I know. Wow, we're really going off the rails for a second. But
Absolutely.
if you look at history, the precursor to every great empire falling is cutting funding to the arts.
We can have a discussion on this one, but let's not
We
do
will.
that one now.
We will.
You and me will have this discussion.
We'll have this discussion. But it's the harbinger.
There is truth. There is truth to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we'll just pop it on that.
It's complicated.
So now, things have changed, and now I proudly wear geek tattoos, and everybody's wearing a comic book shirt and whatever.
I mean,
your
I'm on a
obsession is.
show called I
I
Heart
Heart
Geek,
Geek.
for goodness sake. Although, what's weird apparently is that I can't speak all of a sudden. But
That is weird.
What is weird? I know, it's me. What is weird is how surprised people still are,
Mhm.
because the image doesn't match the I was going to say something else completely inappropriate, but this is a family
I
show.
get you.
But
Yeah.
the image does not match what people expect of a gamer. And the fact is, what a gamer looks like now, what a geek looks like now, has completely shifted from what it was. So let's actually go back
Yeah.
in time, when we had things
If
like,
you're still doing it, that's amazing.
yes, you're welcome. Yes, because we are
I
traveling.
feel
Can
like you're
you
scratching
feel
my
it?
back
Can you
right now.
feel
It's
it?
kind of nice. Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Or petting your head.
Going through the forest.
But you go back to like Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you got Rick Moranis and all those guys who, with a film like that, what made it so great? It was about the guys who didn't have a say
Hmm.
ending up being the cool guys. Of
Yeah.
course, that is not the case now. Geeks
No.
run the world.
That was it was the extreme case of nerdom, blah, blah. But I think it was important. Now, with that being said, and before we get into our specifics, do you miss the days that, you could wear being a geek like a badge of honor instead of it's a trend? You can go to Hot Topic and buy Deadpool stuff, and oh my gosh, I like that movie. That means I'm such a comic book geek. No, you never read a comic in your life, but they co-opting the culture. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I want to ask. A lot of people do have issue with it. I think there's a middle ground, but I think that we're a little too far over on the pendulum. I think it's too acceptable that there's a lot of people that don't belong in the culture that are trying to take over the culture, and it messes with the culture. Does that make sense?
I hear where you're going. I am so in the middle about this because, to promote all of these wonderful things that we love and adore, they need to have a mass acceptance, because that's where producers are going to put their money. So, and I am definitely someone who, I struggle with the whole, tribalism of anything, where it's like, you're allowed in and you're not allowed in.
We've had this discussion a lot. Yes.
I do believe that there's a level of, you kind of have to earn your stripes to get to a certain point.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But how much do I love that I can walk down the street and someone's wearing a flippin' Miyazaki t-shirt, and we can have a moment and share it, like there's everyone is letting their geek flag fly and feeling more comfortable enough. Not only that, but there's a new generation that's discovering how magical all of it is. But I also do not like how diluted some things have become. For instance, I love Star Wars. I love the Star Wars universe.
I used to.
Now there's so much of it, right, that we've lost some of what is so special about it. So it's like I understand the urge to continue living in that space. Same thing with Harry Potter. It's like, I'm a big old Potter. I'm sitting here, my spoon has my You're a Wizard Satomi.
Oh, nice.
Yes, on that. Thank you very much. Listen, there was a little left over on there, and it was
for the
good.
ASMR people in the crowd. You just made them happy. Sorry.
That was probably the grossest thing ever.
That wasn't pleasant, but some people are into it. It's cool.
Let's just say I wasn't trying to be sexy, but and I succeeded in not being sexy.
We are having a day. Okay.
It's the heat. Blame it on the heat. Blame it on the heat.
That was finally falling.
So yes, I'm with you there. It's such a fine line.
Yeah.
It's such a fine line, because there's a level where it stops being special, where it stops being respectful, where it forgets its roots.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, man, if it means that investment is still going to keep happening in this, then that's always the argument, isn't it? That's always
it's hard.
The argument. Yeah, that's hard.
But as I say, I think the fine line that we've crossed over is the people that are geeks that were originally into it are, again, outcasts, because like, oh, you're too much for this. No, you don't like all the new stuff. Oh, you're stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a line that I have a feeling we've crossed, and it's got to make everything really bad again before it gets good again, unfortunately. And I'm hoping that I'm wrong. It's
the cyclical nature of culture.
Yeah. It became, instead of a group, it became a culture.
Right. So now, did you come out of the womb a geek, or was there something that sparked your imagination that made everything just go in your head?
The big one for me, and this is when I was, I want to say 7 or 8 years old. This is what started my love of comic books. I mean, I was a reader at 4. I loved to read. And there was the Archie Double Digest. I loved those books. I still to this day love Archie. I don't care. You know what? All you Marvel people kiss my butt. Archie's awesome. It's
Hey, you can
entertaining,
love it
light
both.
reading. Yeah, it's entertaining. It's light reading. It's fun, and you feel like you get to know these characters. And so I guess the Archie comics. But the superhero side, there was some toys that came out when I was very young. They were Justice League, and this is why I'm a DC fan as opposed to more of a Marvel fan. I had Superman, I had Batman, I had Aquaman, and Green Lantern. Now, Green Lantern, and they had these stupid little gimmicks. You'd squeeze their legs together, and his arm would go up like this, showing his ring.
So it would like he was punching someone. It would just
No,
go straight
like he was using the ring.
Oh, got you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Superman he went over like he was flying, and Aquaman, you push his arms together, his legs would kick like he's swimming, and just silliness. But it's that for whatever reason, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. This is why I am not for changing the original property. Make your own. Hal Jordan, that character right there with a little bit of gray on the sides, the original gray suit with the full white gloves. That is Hal Jordan. That is my love. It just spoke to me in a really weird way as a young child, and this is my favorite character. I didn't really know anything about him.
What were the qualities that he had that called to you?
Well, it had a little comic book with. They all had their little tiny comic book with them, and I liked that he, out of everybody else, everyone else was born that way. Hal had to put on the ring, and he had to make the choice every day to keep the ring on. He could take it off at any time, but that's what made him a hero. And I liked his little attitude, and I liked that his secret identity is cool. He was a jet pilot. I mean, so you go from cool to cool. There's no, and there was something I liked as opposed to Spider-Man, who was a nerdy kid, and I liked that. But there's something about, hey, he's cool and he's cool.
Right. Well, also, don't you think that as a superhero character, he made superheroism accessible? Like that could
me,
possibly
yes.
be you. You didn't have to
Absolutely.
be born that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like Robin. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, and that's what really brought me in. And now this is why it upsets me that there are no comics made for kids anymore. All the toys are awesome, don't get me wrong, but they're made for me. They're not made for a kid to destroy and throw in the air and take in the bathtub and throw around. They're going to break instantly because they're just highly detailed and beautiful. Mm-hmm. You don't have that for the kids as much anymore. And you know what? If you're not making it for the kids anymore, we have a RIP on superheroes.
That's true. I'll tell you, I was at the store looking for a gift for a child a few months back, and I was gobsmacked at how expensive these toys are now.
Yeah.
Like I thought, oh, I'll just get something that they can mess up, and it's not going to matter. It's going to end up in their nose, and then it's going to end up in the toilet, and then it'll end up, hopefully cleaned and recycled and get a new life. And no, I mean, everything was starting at like $40-50. And I was,
and that's not for a kid.
That's not for a kid. That's for the adult kids.
Yeah. And which is fine. They had like Vertigo comics and all that for the adults when I was a kid. Vertigo had Sandman, all that stuff. But most of the stuff was geared towards kids, and they need to get back to that because it's all you're getting is a bunch of basement dwellers. And literally in that horrible basement dweller prejudice that just, I hate everything, and and they're making it for them, but they're not making it for the kids who are going to be reading it till they're basement dwellers later.
No offense to basement dwellers.
No offense. I think everyone
some
gets
people
my
are
point.
Indoor cats. Some people are
Everybody
indoor
gets
cats.
my point. I'm not insulting anybody in particular.
So what do you think is a good gateway for a kid to get into comics?
Archie.
I'm not kidding.
I think that is if they're not into the superhero thing, especially and I had a lot more feminine influence. I had 2 sisters and, theater and all that stuff. So that it just, with the way my brain worked, it fit for me until I started hitting the testosterone of going through puberty, like, oh yeah, men. And that's when the superhero thing kind of takes over.
How was that again?
Man,
Thank you. Okay, I feel better now.
And I would say Archie comics, I think, are just fantastic and it's not forcing anything on you. And, you don't have to know 1,000 years of lore.
Right.
So I would say, what about you? What do you think is a good starter for the comic book world?
Well, I can only speak to it as an adult because I did not get into comics until I was an adult, and it's still fairly new to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a friend of mine introduced me to Saga, which is very
so good,
very adult, and that's
very
what
adult.
surprised me.
Yeah.
That's what surprised me because someone did try to get me into it's one of the big ones, and it starts out with an assault, and I was like, no, that's not for me, thank you. But Saga was extremely adult, not safe for work, not for the kiddies.
TVA,
and the storytelling was so in depth. The art was so fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It was cheeky and funny and complex and interesting.
It's Romeo and Juliet, basically.
But with all of the politics
the deeper stuff,
of the Capulets and the Montagues.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
so
deeper reading.
And I'm looking over now because I grew up so if you want to talk about like the roots of my nerddom, I can go further back than this, but I did grow up with Jim Henson in my world. And so which when actually, you know what, I am going to go back and talk about what I was going to say. So one of the earliest animated films that I saw was, I believe it was called Water Babies. And then it was a British animation, and then there was also Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, so
good!
Yeah,
it was animation that, and of course the Hobbit, the early ones, right? Where even though we think about 80s 80s animation, and a lot of those cartoons were very fluffy. They were still fluffy. But these were films that were not afraid to address real life emotions and really difficult subjects. And for me, that's really what hit it for me. I mean, I loved the cartoons, but when I watched those animated films that were that had a ton of depth to them, then that world was really opened up to me. And so, talking about Jim Henson, his masterpiece, The Dark Crystal, which was eventually turned into a series of graphic novels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. So that's really once I started looking at the graphic novel, and I guess that's. Would you do me a favor? Because in my mind, a comic book versus a graphic novel, a comic book is going to be serialized, but very like little. It's like a sitcom where it's got little short bits. Where a graphic novel, it can still be serialized, but you've got larger arcs. Is my understanding of it. You're going to school me right here.
I am. Okay, so if you look at there's the regular serialized comic books, and they're going to tell a story. Now, what a lot of people would think of as a graphic novel would be like the what they call trade paperbacks, and that puts issue 18 through 37 and it tells that story together in a graphic novel. Technically that'd be a graphic novel, but it's not. That's a trade paperback. Something like The Watchmen, that is the beginning and the end, that is in the story, which again was released as comic books. I think it's 12 issues. Told one complete story, and there was nothing else to tell after that. That's my idea of a graphic novel.
Okay.
Watchmen. Now, there's things like the Sandman, there's.
Oh yes, now you got me into Sandman, which is amazing.
I love Sandman.
Yeah.
But there's like 18. There's 18 trade paperbacks to it, but I look at it all as one War and Peace style graphic novel. Does that make
Cool.
sense?
That makes perfect sense. That
So
makes
yeah, I think
perfect
that'd be the
sense.
difference.
Thank you.
So now let's move off the comic book stuff for just a second. Let's talk. Me and you both have a love-hate relationship with Doctor Who.
Yes.
How did you get into Doctor Who? What was your initial? It took me a while, but I want to hear yours first. How did you get into Doctor Who?
Doctor Who. This show means so much to me. I think it's because the basic moral premise of it is about people choosing to be the best of humanity. It's he never carries a gun, has
Well,
been known to use one if it's necessary.
yeah,
But it's not his go-to. It's like
yeah.
violence is the last resort. Use
He
your
has a
mind.
lot of gray, and that's what I like about him. There is a lot of
Yes.
gray. He says he's anti-gun, but he uses them. He's
He uses, yes, but only when absolutely
yeah, but
necessary.
yeah, I
Um
like that he's always lying, and I like that. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead with
but
your
there's always a good reason. There's
yeah.
always a really good reason. So, but how I got into him again, I mean, I've been a geek my whole life, but I got into Doctor Who very, very late. I have vague memories of seeing parts of reruns when I was a kid.
On PBS.
Um,
Yeah,
yes, but I mean the special effects were so,
bad.
oh bless. Oh, I mean they were working
running
with
down
what
the
they had,
same
right?
running down the same corridor
Same
20 some
corridor
times.
over and over again with the Dalek with the plunger. Um, just amazing. But I had already moved to New York, and there was a Doctor Who marathon going
Hmm.
on,
Oh, nice.
and I picked it up. I think my first episode might have been The Empty Child, which is a
Oh,
gas mask episode.
are you my mummy?
Are you my mummy? I
Oh,
mean, I was like, it's creepy, it's funny, it's exciting, it's emotional. It's so they thankfully this has shifted, but for a long time, American entertainment had the tendency that uh, for a genre to only be one thing.
hmm.
So if you were a drama, the whole show was gonna just be rip out my heart, stab on
Oh,
it, blood
what was
everywhere,
that?
right?
What was that show with the triplets? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't,
the
I don't know, but it was
black guy, and they had two twins, and they were all brothers and sisters. Every episode was just like rip your heart out and die.
and died, which was very, very common. And then if
Yeah,
it was funny, it was just fun. Like there was no in between. There was no
yeah.
complexity to it. And I believe that Doctor Who was a little bit of a unicorn in its time. And actually, I can't remember if it was Stephen Moffat or uh,
The one with
Russell T Davies. Somebody said the ingredients of a Doctor Who episode is if you are terrified, you laugh, you cry, all in the same episode.
I wish they still remembered that, but yeah, I'll stay off
They
the new ones. I'll stay off the new
recently,
ones.
no, recently, yeah. I agree with you, but just recently they started getting the faith back. The very last few episodes of this season, I had lost the faith, and I
Well,
decided
they've
to give
lost
it
a
another
lot
shot.
of listeners too,
I
viewers
decided,
too.
well, yeah, but we're also in a land
Yeah.
of streaming. I actually like if we want to go into the Doctor Who conversation. Um,
Let's
so
stay on the shallow end of it.
stay at the shallow end of it, but there is an aspect of them trying to get back to getting kids back on board because that's what was how it
Hmm.
started.
That's
It
how it
was
should
a
be.
kids show
Yeah.
that they were able to, people were able to grow up with it, and there happened to be something for adults as well, which is all the best franchises have
Hmm.
that. And I do think in the last few episodes of this season, they started getting that back. But boy, they lost it for a while.
Well,
How about you? How did you
okay.
enter?
So I had a
Maybe
neighbor that was really into it, kept talking about it, talking about it. I'm like, okay, so my wife ended up watching a few episodes, and she's like, "No, I think you'd like this." I'm like, That's cheesy. Look, the Plastic Men. So I sat down and we watched probably 5-6 episodes. We got up to the Are You My Mummy? And I'm like, this show is amazing. Yeah, and I've been hooked ever since.
Uh-huh.
I went into it so raw. I didn't know anything about the regenerations. I knew there was another doctor. I'm like, how do they do that? So they just change out characters? Because it was Smith came on about the time I started watching it, but I was watching on Netflix and we were just kind of trying to catch up. And I started reading the comics. I'm like, why is there different doctors? What the heck? And it just really caught my imagination like nothing else, which I loved. I loved the cheekiness of it. I loved. I like watching, and this is going to sound horrible. You feel a little bit smarter when you're watching it from people that don't watch it. Cause like, well, that's a literary reference. I get that.
I do get that. I do. And you know what? There is something, and I've described this before to people who are new to it. There is something delightful about some of the cheesiness because they're very. I mean, the newer episodes, because now they have money and the effects are getting better. They're still not top notch, but I think that they keep some of it, some of that cheesiness to honor the original show. But there's something just sort of delightful and homespun about it. It makes it more tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I feel like when they hit Tenet, they kind of hit their stride of, okay, well, this is our budget. This is what we can kind of do. We can make it look this good. And then it got, a worldwide release with Matt Smith. I mean, it got crazy. And then at least they stopped doing the doctor romance with one of his, and I hated that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that. I don't care about the doctors, anything. He's the smartest guy in the room at any time. And the second you don't feel like he is, that's when I lose the magic of the show. And that's, we've talked about. But yeah, as soon as you don't feel like he's the smartest person in the room all the time.
Although one of the things that I really enjoyed, particularly, so each doctor has those moments of weakness when
weakness is good. Weakness is good. Yeah.
Okay. Because there has to be those moments where you relate to the doctor. He can't just be other. He's also very much a channel for who we could be if we were at our best.
But that's why the team of Robins is so important. I mean, companions. I did that on purpose. Because that's your way in. Because you should be relating to the kid.
To the companion. Yeah. Which is why I have, which is why we always have our favorite companions.
Oh, yeah. And those that you hate because they're nothing like you.
Yep.
And Doctor Who people, and I'm not talking about the last few seasons. You do what you want with that. It's okay not to like certain things. That doesn't mean you have to hate the show.
Right.
And I'll just
Now, did you ever get into Classic Who? Were you ever a Classic Who watcher?
I watched a lot of the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. I watched a lot of him, and a couple of the other ones because it was on Channel 9 PBS before. While I was waiting for Twilight Zone to come on, because
Twilight Zone.
Because you wait for Twilight Zone to come on, and then you watch Saturday Night Live after that. So that's that's a lot of my thing. Let's move to that, actually. How did you get into Saturday Night Live?
Saturday Night Live or Twilight Zone? Because I'm sorry, you hit Twilight Zone.
Okay, let's hit Twilight Zone.
And you want to talk about the genius of Rod Serling.
First scary thing I've ever loved.
Oh, my Lord. Because he mastered creepy.
Yeah.
Like spooky, creepy, mysterious, unsettling without having to be right? Yeah. So I know, I mean, the episode, we used to watch it as a family. And I could not wait for it every time. But the episode that really got me was, I believe it was called The Dollhouse. It was the first colorized episode. About
Give me a minute.
Yeah. Oh God, dubs for Klempt.
Yeah.
It's a verklumpable episode, right?
Yeah.
It's like chills. So beautiful. So essentially, it's a gentleman. I believe he's a banker or an accountant who, like, every day he just does the same thing. He has really not a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to is it a museum?
I
Where
don't know if
there's
it's a museum or if he's buying something for a niece or something. I don't remember.
something, and he sees a
And he falls in
dollhouse,
love with it, and it's
and
creepy.
he
But yeah,
looks into the dollhouse, and everything is black and white. He looks into the dollhouse, and there is a woman there, and she is in color. Everything in the dollhouse is in color,
mm-hmm.
and so he ends up establishing a relationship with it. But it's just this beautiful. Uh, it's a treatise on loneliness, on belonging, on longing.
Yeah,
Uh, it is, it's longing. It's longing in one
yeah.
episode. It
It's
is,
there's I can't name a bad episode of Twilight Zone of the original
yeah,
series. The new
yeah.
ones are kind of hit and miss. Yeah, Rod Serling is a one of a kind
A
genius.
genius,
He just
absolute
he
genius.
hated working with kids.
Yes, but anybody, I mean, they say children and animals, you never want to work with them on
No,
in showbiz because they're going to get all the attention. But yeah, so I mean, so far everything we've talked about so far is they're things that lift us out. Not it's not about out of our humdrum lives. It's not
hmm
that. It's that it expands your idea of what is possible.
yeah,
It takes your imagination
hmm
and sneaks in and tickles it until it just explodes,
yeah.
and suddenly anything is possible. And that is the best way to live.
So let's move up a little bit and let's
Go ahead.
talk
Yep.
about the next half hour of TV that I would watch, and that's
Yeah.
well, let's talk sketch comedy in general.
Okay.
But
Yes.
Saturday Night Live being one of the big influences.
Hmm. Hmm.
My Saturday Night Live is Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman and that era. That's my
Hmm.
generation, and everything after that sucks. So you can ask anybody after their original, everything else sucks. Well,
Well, that's
there were some bad casts, but there's mostly have been really good casts, to be fair. But yeah, that's something that I've loved is the 3-minute sketch. There's something that catches my mind with a 3-minute sketch. And that's, Monty Python. That's all of that is just so, you know,
took the words right out of my mouth because you're talking Monty Python, who were masters at little bites, and you can
of
kind of
silliness.
see of silliness, but it's that burlesque origins,
Yeah.
it's the burlesque houses where people would go. There'd be a little song, there'd be a little sketch, there'd be a comedian, there'd be a magician. But these guys, when you're talking original SNL, these guys were an improv troupe. I
Yeah.
mean, their roots were just thinking on your feet.
hmm
And like, I'm not doing. I mean, I also grew up with Dan Aykroyd, and uh, I
Chevy
don't
Chase and all that. Yeah.
Chevy Chase, Jim Belushi.
Oh, so good.
I mean, just these. I mean, like, the magic that are all of those original sketches when it was new,
hmm
and I think that's probably an example of what you were talking about before. When something becomes so huge, they have to keep topping themselves. It gets harder and harder to
Yeah.
do that because there's the demand to put out more of what you've already put out, because that's what, quote unquote, the people want.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, what the people want is they want
Familiar.
something that surprises. Well, no, it seems like they want something familiar, but they
Yeah.
want something that surprises them.
Yeah, but there's only so many surprises you can do too. That's why it's a
True.
40-year-old show now. And now I think I will say I love Saturday Night Live. They've gone on too long. They should have quit years ago. Monty Python knew when to quit, and they said, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to do some movies now. And out comes one of the most brilliant movies ever made with the Holy Grail. I mean,
Oh, all of them. Holy Grail,
just
Meaning of Life. And then later, you've got Your Fish Called Wanda.
yes,
And even though it was really bizarre, there is a special place in my heart for Baron von Munchausen, even though it's a really weird film.
yes. Yes, yes.
Time
Yes.
Bandits. Time
Oh
Bandits
yeah,
came from those guys, you
American
know?
Idol. Yep.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm gonna ask you a controversial question. I want you to answer it
Ask it.
as honestly as possible.
Oh God.
The
Oh God.
majority of women do not like Monty Python. Why not?
I have no idea. Oh, okay. I have a thought. I do have a thought. I happen to adore Monty Python. The humor is of its time, and it could be interpreted as extremely sexist.
But even before, okay, and this is me kind of going on the other end of that. In the '90s, nobody cared about sexist anything. Let's be honest. It
True.
was the '90s, and we were
Listen,
watching it in drama class.
I can't answer that honestly because all of my female
We
friends,
loved it.
we loved it. We would listen to Dr.
Mhm.
Demento, we would watch Monty Python, we could recite to you the majority of the Monty Python sketches.
But again, I don't feel like it was I don't think it's an offensive thing. Just most women that I've run into in my life, Monty Python, okay, that's dumb. It's a
Well,
different kind of. I know male and female humor can be completely different, and
it's
that's
pretty asinine.
it's dumb.
It's like smartly dumb, but it's
Yes,
dumb.
yeah. I mean, it's Cambridge guys being silly,
Yeah.
But
I mean, there are entire sketches about spam.
I'd like a
And now that
spam,
song's stuck in your
bacon,
head.
and cheese and spam. Yeah.
Spam, spam, spam,
Oh.
spam, spam, spam. I think it's just because it's lowbrow comedy. It's like Benny Hill. It's lowbrow comedy.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you cannot say Benny Hill and not think of that music.
No, you can't. And like sped up people in their
Oh.
underwear running around.
Yeah,
Yes.
British people, they definitely have a thing about not cross dressing, men dressing as women. That's
Specifically. Yes.
specifically that's part of their comedic DNA.
A little off-road. Something that I feel like what I find so fascinating about Britain is that because they are a country that's so much older than ours is, I sort of I sort of go, oh, that's like watching your parents, you know. You kind of see, oh, that's where we're headed. Okay, all right.
I don't think we are, but because they
Well, I
actually
mean, because
yeah.
look at how much, you know, with even in television, how much more prevalent BBC shows have become in American entertainment.
Oh, absolutely.
S-
Well, I think that and this is kind of off topic, but I think in America, we really, as much as we, hate our educational system, no kid wants to be in school, blah, blah, blah. Why the BBC stuff is popular is because there's a yearning for that kind of education.
I agree.
I think that people want that kind of, they're doing Latin, they congregate verbs, they,
Conjugate.
they teach higher math without having to be one of the special kids.
Yeah.
And I think that America wants that, but they don't want to admit to it because that would involve work. And I think that's part of why there's such an appeal, especially at a certain IQ level. I'm not saying that if you don't like it, you're not smart, but there's a certain IQ level that you really start getting into the British stuff because I think there's a craving for that.
Well, I think it's very human. We're wired to learn.
Mm-hmm.
We like to learn, and everybody's gone through their awareness stages, in their lives.
Absolutely.
And I mean, America, just as a country, we are the quintessential bratty kid. I'm sorry.
We are. I love this country, but yes, we have.
I love this country, but we tend to be very like, we want to be the rebels, darn it. And
it's done well for us, though. To be fair,
it has. But it's like any human being.
There's a balance.
There's a time and a place for it.
Exactly.
And then you grow. And I think the fact that BBC television is becoming so popular, let me rephrase that, because BBC also has stuff like Dairy Girls, which is very lowbrow and fun and hilarious. But this craving for historical drama has to, you know what I mean? So like the Gilded Age and the Bridgerton, and
which we're gonna have a show on this soon because we got to talk about this.
We absolutely need.
Courtney said I'm gonna be on that show. Okay, Courtney, you're gonna.
Yes, I burned for that show. We crave it is the nature of the human brain. We crave that learning and that stimulation, that intellectual stimulation. And this goes into the whole, and this goes back to, let's talk comics again, and graphic novels, where, someone has done studies that kids who are into comics and graphic novels actually do have a better grasp of the English language, are able to speak more richly, use language more effectively. And, this all has to do with that craving to continue learning. When we're not, we tend to feel stagnant, to feel purpose free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, if anybody's looking for some kind of mental stimulation, get into comic books, get into an acting class, go learn an instrument, learn a language, any of these things that trigger that side of the brain that allows your creativity to come through.
It can be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it can be a little uncomfortable.
Let yourself be uncomfortable, because
life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Our country does not, and I'm not harping on America, but our country does not like to be uncomfortable. That's why we have every comfort in the world here. We don't like being uncomfortable, and it's time.
We don't like being uncomfortable.
I believe.
Where's my AC?
This is for all the geeks out there. It's time to make ourselves a little bit uncomfortable so that we can go do something better than before. It has nothing to do with it.
Let's learn something
you don't want to
Battlestar
learn about.
Galactica.
Learn about something that's like weird to you. Learn about and look on both sides of issues. Don't just Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Okay, yeah. Welcome back. We're gonna bring you back. We're gonna bring you.
But there's just something that I feel strongly about that, and it's nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with anything like that. It's just learning stuff that's uncomfortable,
learning and travel,
and
travel.
Yeah. And VR does not count.
VR does not count as much as listen, I love going to visit Hyrule. Right now I'm playing Genshin Impact, and I love exploring all of that. But yes, so actually that's a geekdom, is travel.
Yes.
So I want
into it.
Oh,
this is the last topic we're going to talk about on this, but yeah. Let's
go. Shoot! I had other things I wanted to talk about too.
I know we were running out. We're going quick.
Okay. Well, we can talk about travel, or we can talk about video games. It's up to you.
Let's go. We've done 3 on video games the last couple weeks. Let's do travel.
Okay. So here is where I geek out about travel. So listen, I hated history class.
Oh yeah.
Okay. History class was boring, but let me qualify this. History is not boring. History is amazing, and it is fascinating. For me, I could not learn it sitting in a classroom. It's too sterile. There's no life to it. When I travel, holy moly, I've been to some really amazing places over the last decade, and the difference between learning about the way that the Greek, I almost said the geek, the way, the development of democracy in Greek history, versus standing there staring at the Parthenon, suddenly recognizing that you can, in your mind's eye, see these guys walking, because it's right there. You're standing there on marble that is slippery because people have been walking on it for 3,000 years. Suddenly everything becomes alive.
Yeah.
And I will sit down and listen. I don't care how long. If you know what happened here, I'm in. And that's everywhere I've traveled. I love old cemeteries for that. Going all over the world, wherever I possibly can. The Forum in Rome, forget it. The ancient temples in Japan, wherever. I just got really excited. I'm so sorry, and I just got running off with the mouth.
No, go. I'm enjoying this.
Because when you travel, especially when you travel somewhere where they do not speak your language.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You are forced to, because languages develop in a way that is specific to the region. It's that whole thing of like how Eskimos have like over 100 words for snow,
Mm-hmm.
and we just say snow and maybe sleet, right?
Yeah.
Or slush, you know. So learning another language. And by the way, when you travel, just get on Duolingo, get on something cheap. It doesn't matter. Get a basic grasp of the language, just a basic grasp, because I find that anywhere you go, this is going into my geekdom about languages because I love languages. Clearly, I do all the accents, not because I'm making fun of them, because I love the way each language feels in my mouth, because
Yeah.
each language is spoken in a different part of the vocal structure. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool. Like pretend you are French and everything is sitting right up in the front of the mouth. It's right here, and you go in something that's more Russian, and it's back here. Everything is sitting in a different
Yeah.
place in the mouth, right? And it's largely a reflection of the area that they came up in, the weather, the food they were eating, the challenges that they had to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly, when you're traveling, oh my God, I'm going to end the lecture in a second. I'm so sorry. Welcome to Satomi Travel 101. You start to be able to understand the perspective
Yeah.
of the culture, where the culture comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You may not get it perfectly. You didn't grow up in it, true, but at least you can try.
Yeah.
And I also find that if you take a second and learn just a little bit of the language, they will bend over backwards to
Oh
help
yeah.
you, to talk to you, to share time with you. I've gotten so much free stuff when I travel. And it's as soon as I start speaking the language.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're like, oh my God, you speak the language. It's you made an effort to learn
Mm-hmm.
something about the place that you're visiting. And
Yeah.
the amounts of times that they are shocked that I'm American and have done that is really, I will say, is a shame. And I would love to charge all of my geek friends and my geek cohorts to go out there and to be the reason why other countries are like, Americans are awesome.
And I want to footnote this just because
Yes.
when I traveled around the world, literally,
Mhm.
there is no flat Earth, people. It is round. I know because I started in Washington, went all the way around the globe, and ended up in Virginia. I then drove from Virginia back to Washington. That tells me one thing: I didn't fall over the edge anywhere. Anyway, with that
You've been
being
off the
said,
edge for a long time, but go ahead.
with that being said, I don't know what got me on that. That's starting to come up.
It's all right, honey.
When you
Just
go to other places in the world, yes, bring your Pepto Bismol, but try the food.
yes.
Try the food. Like Thai food, I hate Thai food in America. I've never found any place that I like Thai food. I had Thai food in Thailand, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
The stuff in Dubai, I don't want to know what I was eating, but some of it was pretty good. Some of it really wasn't. But try it, because that is part of that experience of. Because like when I see these countries, I'm like, I taste them now. So that's a big one.
Wow. What a great way to put that.
You
Well,
know, it's
also, when you have a food that's been brought over, you can't necessarily get the same ingredients. Like a good example, something that's become very popular out here is Georgian food. Not Georgian food, but Republic of Georgia.
yeah.
So there's like something called that people call it cheese boat out here. And it's actually not King Kali. What is it? Somebody's going to remember what it is, or I will in a second. I narrated a whole book about Georgian food, but there's a cheese called Sulgoni cheese that you can only
Okay.
get over there. There are places opening up here that are now serving these breads that are stuffed with cheese, and all they can do is do an approximation because you can't get the exact same cheese.
Yeah.
So when you're traveling, those things are going to taste different. Also, the commercial chain through which food comes to the table
Mm-hmm.
is very different in every country. So in Italy, you can get the best Italian food here. It tastes different in Italy.
It is.
Because a
And you
lot
might
of
not
that
like
is
it in that
from
country either, by the way.
You might not. You might not.
You know, hey, I like Taco Bell more than I like Mexican food.
Khachapuri. That's what it's called, by the way. Khachapuri.
Okay, khachapuri.
If you guys, yes, khachapuri. It essentially looks like a part of the female body, but it's amazing.
I'm gonna have to look this up later.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture, especially the ajara khachapuri, which
I was kidding about the Taco Bell thing, people. I know that I just pissed off somebody on that one. I was kidding about the Taco Bell thing. I was hoping you were going to yell at me for that.
Listen, I just edit out Taco Bell in general. So I mean,
Well,
don't
Taco
sue
Bell
us
does
or
come out
anything.
quickly, so yes.
Yes, it does. It does.
That out. That is a show, guy. Always end on the poop joke. Check out the website. Check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the column. We paid extra for it. Go to the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram. What else do they need to do, Satomi?
You want to toggle on your automatic downloads in your apps for us, please?
That helps a lot. If you are so inclined and you're an Apple user, if you want to put the what's it called, give us a little comment and say that we're awesome. Don't tell us we suck, because I just can't handle that kind of pressure in my life. It makes me sad.
Be nice to Dub. Be nice.
Dub needs it in his life. I mean, look at me. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please comment and leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Dub.
I'm Satomi.
Keep on geeking
Keep on geeking on.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.